Welcome to our special webinar today, the top 3 WordPress editing skills you need to know now. And we're going to try to make this really packed with valuable information. So I actually want to start by giving a poll. I'm going to launch that now. So this is an anonymous poll. And the question is, what WordPress editing skill is most intimidating to you today? Editing pages, editing menus, or editing widgets? Editing pages, editing menus, or editing widgets? So we're gonna deal with all 3 of these items today. I can promise you that we're not going to cover every possible permutation of everything you can do with pages, menus, and widgets. But hopefully you will come away with some things that that you didn't know before. So 9 out of 11 of you have voted. So I'll give you about 5 more seconds if any of you else want to toss your vote into the hat. And you're out of time. Sorry. So I'm going to share the results now. So it looks like most people, the widgets are what most people are finding most intimidating. So we're actually going to reverse the order in light of this. And we'll deal with widgets first, and then menus, and then pages. So thank you for participating in the poll. That was fun. This is the first time I've ever used polls in Zoom, and I like it. So just a brief word of introduction. Many of you are familiar with 5 More Talents, but some may not be. So our mission is to work with Christian organizations and in particular churches to welcome visitors and equip the saints for the work of ministry. That's your mission, and we're here to help you in that. We are a team. So you can see Megan, our digital marketing specialist, Bobby, our web developer, Doug, our founder and president, Andrew, our church website specialist, and myself. And what we do is training, equipping, and consulting, such as this webinar, website development, and website care plans, including hosting and technical support. And as we do all these things, we try to equip you with the best technology, the best processes and practices, and then to help you get better as people, as well as to equip you with teams of people that can help you implement special projects. All right, so let's talk about widgets first. All right, so let's just look at some basic concepts. So here's how you get to, there's actually 2 different ways you can get to widgets on WordPress. So one way is to go to Appearance and Widgets. And so that's one way. Let me show you there's another way as well. If you go to Customize, the Customize menu also allows you to edit your widgets. Now, the reason why you might want to use the Customize menu is that it's going to show you as you're making the edits what those edits look like. All right, so you can, if you make a change to your widget, like, let's see here. All right, Grow in Grace. Say, listen to our sermons online. What you're going to see, because you're in this customized screen, you are going to see that change reflected immediately. So there's those 2 ways that you can edit your widgets, and Customize will show you and let you preview those changes in real time, which is a good reason to use the Customize menu to edit your widgets. Now, let's talk about some concepts regarding widgets. So first of all, there are widget areas and then there are widgets, widget areas and widgets. So these 5 things that are listed here says homepage slider, homepage highlights, homepage bottom left, homepage bottom right, and then page sidebar. Those are 5 different widget areas. Now, within each widget area, you can place 1 or more widgets. So for example, if I look in the homepage slider, you can see that there are 4 slide widgets in this homepage slider widget area. All right. Homepage highlights. So on this particular WordPress theme, it has a widget area called homepage highlights. And again, if you look inside there, it has 3 different widgets in there. You can click on add a widget. That will let you add something addition. This shows you all the different kinds of widgets that are available to you for this particular widget area. Now, different WordPress sites are going to be different because you might be using a different theme. You might have different plugins. So you might see a different set of widgets than what I'm displaying on the screen. But that's the basic concept. Let's look at one more. Almost every, let's go to an internal page. Almost every WordPress site has a sidebar. So you can see here, this one, we have a Get Directions widget. So that's the page sidebar widget area, and it's showing a Get Directions widget. And this is pretty typical for an individual widget where you have a few different options. And let's say you wanted to show the phone number, then it's going to update and it's going to show the phone number on there now. You could also add a widget. All right, so one of the widgets that's on every WordPress website is text. All right, so you could add a text widget that displays in the sidebar of every page of your site. All right, so you can see there that yeah, now we have a widget there, and we can also reorganize them so that the Hello World widget goes first, and then the Get Directions goes second. And then you just click the blue button, and then that will publish it. All right, so that hopefully gives you an idea of how widgets work in the Customize menu. Let me now show you a few more things you can do if you use the old school widgets menu. So that's this one right here. So one of the things I like about this view is that, number one, it gives you a list of all the available widgets. And it's easier to kind of see what are all the different types of widgets that are available to you. So this is a church website, so it's showing a lot of church website specific widgets, where if you don't have a church website with us, or you have a different type of website, you wouldn't see things like sermons, for example, or CT slide. You wouldn't see a lot of these ones that start with CT, but what you would see would be navigation menu, image, pages, search, text, tag cloud, video, gallery. A lot of these are just common widgets that are on every site. So these are all the available widgets that you have. And then here on the right side of the screen, you see all of the different widget areas that are available. So you can see there's, in this particular site, this particular WordPress theme has 4 homepage widget areas, and then 9 different sidebar widget areas for different types of pages. And then each one of them you can set up, you can add different, different widgets just by dragging and dropping that widget into that widget area. All right, so those are the basic concepts regarding widgets. So let me open it up to a few questions. So if you have a question about widgets that I haven't covered yet, maybe just type that into the chat window and I can take a few minutes and try to address those. So just type your question into chat about widgets. We have a few more minutes before we talk about menus and pages. So what other questions do you have about widgets or widget areas? All right, how many widgets can you have per area? And then what is a widget? Okay, so there, usually there's not really any enforcement of how many widgets you can have per widget area. What can happen is that depending on how that particular WordPress theme you're using is set up to display your widgets, you might find it doesn't look very good. So one example would be this section of the screen that has these 3 highlight boxes. This is a widget area. And you could add a 4th highlight box, but the thing is that it would be displayed kind of on its own line, and then there'd be all this white space. That's pretty common that you run into that kind of issue, whereas if you add an additional widget, it just starts to look weird. But I mean, you can basically add an unlimited number of widgets. Okay, what is a widget? So a widget, it can be all sorts of things. It's just a it's like a component. It's like kind of like a little Lego that you can put into a visual section of your layout. So I think about it like this: like if you imagine one of those painting shows that you used to have on PBS. This available widget is like your palette, or another analogy would be it's like your bucket full of Lego pieces. And there's an audio widget that displays an audio player. There is a calendar that displays a calendar of your site's posts. There's a form that displays a form. There's an image that displays an image. So they're like little Legos, and then the widget areas are different places you can put them, which then display, do that thing that the widget does. Where can we find more information to learn about widgets on our own? That will be something that I will put in the, that's a great question, and I will put that in the follow-up email that I'll email out to everyone with the recording, which I'm planning to do tomorrow. So that's a great question. All right, let's talk about the next topic, which is menus. So menus are kind of one of those deceptively simple topics. There's actually a lot more that you can do with menus than might first appear. So the first thing I want to say is that and this again is going to differ depending on which WordPress theme you're using, but first is that your theme probably has multiple places you can put a menu. So for example, in this theme, there's actually a menu right here at the very top of the screen. There's the main menu, and there's actually a menu at the very bottom in the footer. All right, so that's the first thing to be aware of in working with menus, is that chances are good that your WordPress theme has more than one place for menus. So you can click on this Manage Locations tab is one way to get there. You can see that there is a top menu, and it has the top menu assigned there. There's a header menu. When their header menu is assigned there, you could make it confusing and pick a different one to display there, but that's what it's doing. Is there's different locations in the WordPress theme, which sets the design of it, and you can pick which menu goes where. And when you're editing a menu, you need to make sure that you are aware of which menu you're editing. So in this case, we're editing the header menu, which is the main menu. But we could also go and we could edit the top menu. All right, now this, what I'm going to show you next, this could be a game changer for many of you. So screen options. So in screen options, what a lot of people don't recognize about menus is that there's all kinds of different things that can be added to your menu. It's not just pages, but actually you can see any of these things, individual sermons, individual events, individual locations or people, custom links, any of these things can be added to your menu. But you might not see them if you don't have your screen options set up. So a lot of people, they come into their menu and they might only see something like this: pages, and posts. But one of them you definitely want to have on there is custom links. So in the last webinar, we were talking about online giving, and oftentimes when you're implementing an online giving solution, they're going to give you a online giving page which is on a separate website. So for example, many of our customers are using something called Tithely, and Tithely, it's not their homepage, but they give you a separate page. And so what you do to get that on your menu is you create a custom link. So you put in the URL, you add your link text, and then you add it to your menu. And then you save your menu. And then you view your site, and you might have to refresh, but there it is. There's your online giving link. But the key point there is you have to have that option available for custom links in your screen options. So screen options is very, very powerful. These advanced menu properties also can be helpful. So for example, well, let's see, maybe not. Let's not talk about the advanced menu properties, but one of the other things that can be really handy is the navigation label. So maybe you would just want, for example, if you're adding, let's go to your main menu. If you're, sometimes when you add just one more item to your main menu, then it kind of wraps onto a second line. It doesn't look very good. So one little trick is you could just, if like the page is, let's see, oh, why is that not letting me change it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, this navigation label, you could just have it say new here. And what does that do? What it does is it just changes, it saves a little bit of space in your menu so that you can then fit a few more items. But then it also preserves the page title so that when the people get to the page, it still has that full title, I'm new here. So that can be handy as well. So what other questions do you all have about menus? Hope that kind of gave you a sense that there's actually a lot more that can be done with the menu than might first appear. So if you have other questions or comments, go ahead and type something into chat. Or just type, I don't have any questions or something. All right, my theme says only 3 menus per page. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's go back to menus. I'm not sure what that that would be about. That might be something that yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, your theme supports three menus. Okay. So yeah, what that means is probably that goes back to the menu locations. So it's going to be slightly different depending on which theme you're using. But yeah, again, in the example of this theme, there's basically 3 locations where you can display a menu. There's this top menu, there's the header, main menu area, and then there's the footer, right? So that's probably what it's talking about, is just that there are different locations that you can display a menu. And by the way, there is also a any widget area, or like a sidebar, for example, would be a better example. A sidebar is another place, like a sidebar widget area. There's also a widget where you can display a menu here in the sidebar. All right, this is a good question. Are there things we should avoid doing so we don't break something? I would say the only thing that comes to mind is, you know, especially in these main menu areas, that space um, is almost always at a premium. It's obviously limited. There's only a certain number of pixels on the computer screen. So the way to manage that is a couple of things. One of them is what I just showed you, where you can expand a menu item, and you can, hang on a second. All right, you can expand a menu item like this, and you can shorten the navigation label. And that way, if you add, if you find that you're adding some new menu items and your menu is starting to wrap onto a second line, you definitely want to avoid that. So one way you can do that is just by, you could make this even shorter. You could just say new, right? And then it's even shorter, and your menu takes up less space, and you can have more room. Other thing is, of course, to take advantage of the fact that you can have, parent-child menu items. So the way you do that is, let's say looks like there's a VBS page that's been added. So you may not want that to go, directly as its own menu item, but maybe you just want to have that just go under that more menu item. So you just drag and drop so that it's a child. So that's the main thing that comes to mind to avoid breaking the menu, is just use the drop down feature. And what I mean by that is what I just showed you with nesting one menu item underneath another one. And then also, if you absolutely have got to have something in that top level, then just to shorten the label. But there you can see that VBS item that I added. All right, thanks for those great questions. Let's conclude by talking about pages. So one of the things that I want to say about pages is that I definitely would urge you, if you have not already started to try out the black editor, you really need to, because the classic editor is going to be basically phased out over the next 12 to 18 months. So definitely start trying out the block editor. What you should see on your website is something like this when you click on pages, where you have an option to do either classic editor or block editor. It's not going to be true for every website, but probably you'll see something like that. If not, then you can contact me individually, and I can I or some other team member can try to help you sort that out. But the block editor is with WordPress 5.4, which has come out in the past few weeks, I think is really starting to come into its own. And it really has a lot of exciting features. Just to try to show you a few that are really cool. You can put in a photo gallery. You can do a carousel gallery, a collage, masonry, offset, stacked. There's some great photo gallery options. Let's see there. Oh, it looks like those are coming from the CoBlocks plugin. So sorry, that's not. Those are not default WordPress block editor options. Let's see, common blocks. There's you can do things like. In fact, let me show you this page. You can do things like add an accordion. This would require installing an additional plugin, but makes it a lot easier with the block editor to create more engaging pages. So definitely encourage you to try out the block editor if you have not done so already. So we are at 2:58, so I'm going to wrap up the official part of this webinar, although I can stay around for a few more minutes if any of you have any questions. As I wrap up though, before I stop the recording, I would like to highlight that you can find us at 5moretalents.com. You can email me at daniel@5moretalents.com. I can send you a link where we could schedule a one-on-one meeting to maybe address some issues that are more specific to your website. Also want to make sure that you have seen our COVID-19 dashboard. This has a variety of resources and we're updating it on a daily basis. It has, let's see, all kinds of different things on here about online giving, video calls, video streaming, leader guides, all kinds of great things on there. Let's see. And then we have a donate page. So if you've appreciated this this content that we're producing, these webinars, then please make a donation that will help us to do more of these types of webinars to help churches in particular as you seek to adapt to the current situation with COVID-19 and how to make changes on your website to serve your churches. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to stop the recording, but if you have any questions, I can hang around for a few more minutes and try to answer those.